everybody. Yeah. So we are looking at the program that we have today, right? And following the program, I'm going to explain to you how the thing goes about each one of the module. And I will also be distributing out for you a short pre-test for all of you to do. Yeah, so I'll hand this out to all of you. Here you go. Now, for the pre-test, here you go. Okay, I would like you to use your phone just to scan on this, right? To answer the questions, whatever you have, and from there, just take your time, just answer the questions. The less that you know is fine for this program. Yeah, so as far as we're concerned, just make sure that we will be able to have all the things that we want to learn and experience through this program. So just answer the few questions that we have here. Alright, take your time. So the time now is 9 o'clock. Okay. Have you managed to find or get the link? Yes, okay, just answer where you can. The reason why we want you to use the reference book is so that we can evaluate at the end of the program what you have learned, right? What skills you have obtained. Just try it out first and see. The question typically allows most people who are new to project management, right, to have an idea what is involved in project management. The students who have done some project management program in their universities would know most of these answer questions. We'll be able to answer most of this. Yeah. We've got another about 8 minutes more for you to do this. Even some project managers will find it that some of the questions asked they might not know because they have different type of project managements. Yeah. We've got a few more minutes left. Clock not moving. Let's see the clock. check and see my clock. We've got another 4 more minutes before we move on to the next activity. Just finish up the last few questions. We were given 10 minutes for this session, so just take a few more minutes for the pre-test. You have only 2 minutes left before we move on to the next section of the program. So whatever last items that you have, just fill up, and I will have a look at your responses during the coffee break, and it will help you later on at the end of the program to see where are you, what are you achieved. Let me check the clock. Just the 1.5 minutes left. Don't worry, we cannot answer, don't worry too much about it. Yeah? So we will be learning some of this, the answers to some of these items in short while throughout the duration of the program. Okay, so now let's close off the last answer. Save and submit whenever you're ready. Yeah? So whatever who's done, just put up your hand, say you're done, and you can continue to the next part. Yeah? Okay, that's good. That's good. Alright, thank you. Right, so we go to the next portion here. The next portion here, what we're going to do here is a short activity. The short activity typically is for us to be able to get ready for the program. Yeah? So there is a activity here, alright? Just have a look at the page here itself, right? So it's a short activity just for you to just go through to see scenario of what is a this person called Jack and this person called Jill. Yeah, so they have typically been asked, right, by their parents to perform a series of tasks, right, and the task typically involves them retrieving a bucket full of water back home. And if you read through the rest of the information there, the problem here is that it's winter, right? And there's a creature at the front of the page of the place there, right? Typically, we would have done this in groups of 5 because it's only us here, so we will all do it together. Yeah. So you have 10 minutes to perform or read through this instruction, just answer the questions there. So now the question here is the scenarios that just give you an overview. You can read the details in a short while. Yeah. They were given a particular task. Okay. The task is they have to go and retrieve a pail of water. They were given a certain amount of time to retrieve the pail of water, and the thing is, where they're going to retrieve the pail of water is at the top of a hill, and at the top of the hill there's a garden. So they were provided with all the necessary tools to go, the direction to go, right? And now the question here is, who collected the water, right? And how much of water did they bring back? Okay, so just read through the story there. Okay, and typically try to deduce from this information provided who returned first and how much of water did they get. And so you got about 10 minutes to do this exercise. It's a short exercise, yeah. See the timing. Let's just pause. 13. Yes, remember the story here just involves the few characters that's mentioned or described inside the notes there, right? But the main character that is going to go and pick up the water and return back is Jack and Jill. The rest of the characters, they are not going to pick up anything. They will still remain in the house. Just need to know who returned first and how much of water did they bring back. Try to solve the mystery. If you need to, you may discuss with each other, it's okay. And try to form your answers in a short while. I would just like to know your response. Who would be the one that returned first, and how much of water would they be when they return? All the other characters involved in the story, they will also contribute to some sense of this timeline. some of you may have seen this particular storyline and have actually gone through other programs. Most probably have gone through other programs because it's one of the popular way of one of the popular activities for us to be able to brainstorm and see who gets the answer. Take your time, take another about 5 minutes more to be able to try to find the solution. For thinking of this, just take note that they do mention that it is at the end of the year in the northern hemisphere. So what could also be the contributing factors if it's end of the year and they're in the northern hemisphere? Let's take another about 4 minutes more. Right, another 3 more minutes and we are done. Now, so I've given you the hint. It's end of the year and they're in the northern hemisphere, and based on the stories, you just have to try to understand and formulate ideas. How do you get the conclusion there? Very good, very good. That's good. Now, that's a good idea. That's a good approach to it. Yes. Now, so let's come to the solutions that you have actually gotten. How many of you say that Jill arrived first? How many of you say Jack arrived first? very well. So the thing here is this: how much water did they return back with? How many of you say they return with a whole bucket of water? How many of you say they return with half a bucket of water? And how many of you say that they return with no water? Very good. Okay, excellent. Now, like the story goes, right? If you see through later on, there will be a short description in the next page itself, right? In the northern hemisphere, at this end of the year, it is winter period, winter season. Yeah, so on the place that they were at, it was a bit slippery. So on their way down, right, it is very likely somebody will have fallen down and hurt themselves, and they will not be able to go back up to pick up the water again, one person. So definitely it was not full, and it was also not empty because they did bring back some water. Yeah, so that's good. That's a good job. That's how that we try to do this type of analysis skills that we have. Alright, so now, thank you for running through the few exercises. Now, next thing is this: we have to establish some sort of groundwork on how we're going to approach this. Yeah? So the contract here is this: during the training, if you have phones, please make sure that you have it on silent mode. Yeah, where you can. Yes. If for any reason that you need to leave early, or to go out to the toilet and all that, just go. Let me know and you can go and take. Yeah, no problem. Apart from that, it's your responsibility to follow through with all the exercises that I provide. And so your participation helps you to learn better. And so those are just the basic contract and all that. So contract means that your agreement to be in class, to study or to learn. Yes. Yeah, so now, next portion here is this. We are going to look back at the next set of slides. I provided you with a set of notes. Yeah. So the next page is the program that we have is known as Project Management and Approach to Successful Project Delivery. This program is typically aimed at people who are fresh graduates, those people who are new into the area of project management. Yes, to understand what is this project management about. And we will do a short introduction to the program. How is it like? So, in a nutshell, project management, we try to understand the basics of it first. Yeah, so like most programs that we have in office, in work, in the home, when we study, yeah, we have sometimes some activities that we have to carry out in the short term and end it. So what we have here is this very common term that we use: successful delivery of any project on time doesn't require genius. It means typically anybody can deliver a project. However, many projects risk failure due to the simplest of causes. So that means anybody, any Tom, Dick and Harry can do a project. The question here is, what's the project and how do we benefit from the project? That's the thing that we all always normally look at. Okay, so now, among these items that we have here, if you can see the picture that we're depicting here is this. Okay, Jack and Jill scratching their head. Why? Because one small little project, but there's a possible risk of failure. Simple thing as getting or fetching water from the well. There are risks, and there's also a time frame when they have to get the water back before everything freezes over. Now, to cover this area here, we have the program objectives. The program objective, typically we are looking at project management. We have to define what is meant project management before we can even become a project manager. Then we have to look at its importance. How is it important to anyone, whether in the IT line, in the administration line, in schools and studies. We will look at different phases of project management life cycle. These are standard phases that we will normally see. And following that, understanding the role of the project manager. Okay. So this is the project manager area. Apart from that, there will also be 4 modules all in all. So this is project program objective. There are 4 modules for us to support this. Module 1. Module 1, overview of project management. We will have a general idea what's project management. Module 2, life cycle of common projects. Typically, for us to get an experience or understanding of projects. Then in module 3, principles of a successful project, followed by module 4, organizing through standards. We should be able to cover these two in the first half of the day. Then the last half of the day will be covering module 3 and module 4. Okay, so that's the area that we have. Now, if you see this portion here in a short while, we have many people who actually start going into the project management. Okay, some of them are just called as thrown into the fire. Okay, or we call it baptism of fire. In other words, no skills, no knowledge, no briefing, no explanation. They're suddenly appointed as a project manager. They don't even know that they're a project manager until somebody tells you in the organization chart, say, oh, this guy is the project manager. Okay, so that's one of the areas that we have. So let's see the next area here that we have. Okay, life cycle of common projects. There are many life cycle programs, but we are looking at the standard and the traditional life cycle of projects. If you read articles, read books and all that, sometimes they say life cycle, there's 3 life cycles. Some of them are 4, some of them are 5, some 7, some 8, some 9. Yeah, so we will see the basic life cycle of common projects. So the 4 basic life cycles is the most common ones that we will see, right? That any program, any projects also will have. Principles of successful projects, then we see the principles, how does it tie out to all these things here? How does this life cycle benefit people? And the principles typically means that things that we must do or must perform, must prepare, must provide to have a successful project. And the last part is standards. How can we apply all these things? We have something called standards that everybody in the industry follows, so it's easier for us. Okay, now that's one area. Have a look at the program. Have a look at these 4 items first. Any questions? Let me know. We just check and see my timing. Now, let's go over to module 1. Let's see what's module 1 about. So this is module 1. I'm just going to give you an overview of it. So, in module 1, overview of project management, we will try to understand or rather look at characteristics of a project. What makes up a project? People say project, but what's a project? Then we will explain the term project and management. Okay, what's project and what's management? Then from there we have an idea how, or a better sense of what is it. This is especially useful for those people who suddenly were told that, hey, look, you've got to do this work, and then they realize that it is a project management. Then the third item here, we have planning through budget, quality and schedule. So when we do planning, we make use of budget, we make use of quality and schedule to determine your the success of the project. These are the main things. And the last part of this module 1, we will see how to recognize a project manager. What makes a good project manager? Then you have to evaluate to yourself, are you a good one or not, right? Or whether you are evaluating another person if he is a good project manager. That's the area in module 1 that we have. Okay. Now, do you have any questions for this part here? Okay, very good. Now, in our examples in a short while, we're going to see how a simple, we have seen an example in our icebreaker earlier on one, right? So we'll see another example. One fine day, we are given a task, right, to paint the room. Okay, so painting the room with a particular color or particular shade becomes a project when we have a plan that involves other people, that involves budgets, that involves quality and schedule. For example, we may need to determine a budget for it. In other words, how much is involved, how much of paint we need to buy, how much of other materials I have to buy, whether I have to pay somebody to move things out while I paint, whether I have to rent another place to put all the things out, whether I have to pay a painter to do the painting. Then we also see this simple situation where if we take the project of painting a room, how much of effort is going to be required, and in the end of the day, what type of quality are we looking at in the paint? Yeah, so that's the idea of it. So that becomes a project, and the best thing is we also decide on the schedule. For example, before the next Chinese New Year, we want to have the room ready. So that would be our schedule. So that makes it into a, by having these few things, it becomes a project. Okay, so we will see this portion here in detail in a short while. Okay, let me see my schedule. We are still very ahead of time. Okay, now, so in our example, as I mentioned just now, we're going to do the painting project for room. Later on, we see other projects, other examples. Okay, let's go to the next part then. So we are very fast on this one here. This is the next slide first. Describing characteristics of a project. Okay, everything that people mention as a project is not necessarily a project. Yeah, so sometimes we have to be able to decide whether an activity is a project or not. Yeah, so that means that it could be the opposite of a project. It's a day-to-day activity. For example, if your job as a bank teller, every day you're supposed to sit down in front of the customer and answer all of their questions, all of their applications. That does not make it into a project, because that is your day-to-day activity. So it's easy to differentiate that. A project is something where we have suddenly decided to have a specific purpose with a specific set of activities to complete. So if somebody tells you, oh, then the teller sitting at the front of the bank teller sitting at the front counter, he has a specific purpose to answer people's question, to also process people's applications, and they have a specific set of activities. Okay. Why do we say that's not a project? Let's see the next example. Here, it has something called measurable benefits and achievements. Again, the bank counter or bank teller who's sitting there doing his work, Does he have a measurable benefit about what he's doing to the company? Yes, because he's actually processing the number of inquiries or number of applications. And if he managed to do all those things, it's also called as achievements. I'm just giving a comparison with the normal daily task compared to a project. Now, another example here is this: an achievable outcome with a degree of risk. The bank teller sitting in front there, trying to process all these things. Does he have an achievable outcome? Yes, but he does not have a degree of risk. Why? Because it's something that is repetitive. He's doing it on a day-to-day basis. It's normal. Okay? Relevant and within a time frame, time limit. So when somebody is saying that about the bank teller again, if he's doing his work, of course his work is doing day-to-day basis, but it is not to say that there is a relevance to it, right? Because that's his task. He's doing it day to day, and within a time limit. This time limit, of course, there will be a time limit for the day. He has to complete it within the day. Okay? So that's why a lot of people will suddenly say, "My job is a project." So it doesn't become a project because it does not have specific purpose plus measurable benefits. It's achievable and it's relevant. You must have all these four, then only we can cater it as a project. That is one of the things that determines the project. Yeah? That's why some people use the term SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and within a time limit. It is a popular acronym to describe project. Very popular way of doing it. Yeah? Okay, let's get into this module 1. Now, let's go back to the case of our task that we were assigned to paint up the room. Now, if I'm doing the painting of the room, very simply put, I have to start thinking about, okay, I could do the way that most people do, is just buy it without thinking, come to the house, and then paint, see whatever I can paint, and I'm done, and I go off. That typically would not constitute as a project. Okay, that one is just an ad hoc activity. Okay, now when it comes to project, that means that we start thinking smart. Okay, I have a specific purpose and this distinct set of activities. I think, okay, I'm going to paint my room. I start thinking about what is it that I'm going to paint. Am I going to paint the ceiling, the walls, the floor? What am I going to paint? So I have to determine all these things. I have a specific purpose, and I determine my set of activities. So as a room getting painted, I start thinking, okay, I want to paint all these things. I might have to remove some things. I might have to cover up some places. For example, certain things I have to take them up so that it doesn't get painted. And do I want to paint the ceiling? Yeah, so those are the specific set of purpose. What are the purpose that I can think about? What are those activities I can think about? I may need to apply. Let's say I'm going to carry a lot of paint and all that. I'll be making a lot of noise, moving things here and all that. I may need to apply for a permit for my building, because the apartment sometimes you need to apply for a permit to say that, oh, I'm going to do this activity, so I have to apply. So those are determining the sets of activities. So I know a specific purpose, paint, and the paint I need to know. Am I going to have single color the whole round, or do I have intention to have multiple colors or specific design? Right? So I need to see what are the different areas. If I have suddenly a plan, what is it that I want to draw or I want to paint, then again that becomes a specific purpose. For example, I came across a new movie, right? The latest movie for Guardians of the Galaxy, since it just was released recently, right? Okay. on the TV screen. So I wanted to paint and put in some of my favorite character, the designs and all that over the wall. So it could constitute as a specific purpose also. Then the next part here is this. Based on that, I have to see, is there a measurable benefit and achievement? So that means that to be able to complete this, along the way, what's the benefit that I intend to have? One, I might want to have something which is painted to the color that I want, to the design that I want. Then second, let's say I want to paint everything gold. Okay, only without getting galaxies, goldish set of colors. I may also have to look at what achievements I want to have. For example, I may want to be able to complete one wall today because I know I cannot finish everything. So that's an example of the achievement. One wall must be completed today. Another achievement that I may want to have is from the activities to be able to move everything out from the room so that I can actually clean up the place and start doing all the cleaning and doing the painting. Okay, then that becomes the benefits. I need to be able to measure the benefit of this whole project. So that means that when I finish this whole project, I must be able to tell myself, hey look, I have the thing painted like what I planned. That is the benefit. An achievable outcome with a degree of risk. Then we come to the situation where certain things that we do, for example, when we're doing painting, there might be spillage. I might have drops of paint dropping here. I may have a very, what you call it, my ornaments around the walls. I have to make sure that they are all not painted, and when I'm cleaning it up, I don't damage the wall. Yeah, I may want to move furniture from one place to another place. So those are the degree of risk. So I need to be able to determine those things. So again, painting, relevant and within a time limit. So we set the time limit. Whenever we set a time limit, we know that the project must complete before the next Chinese New Year. So we set that as a time limit. Relevant here typically means that the things we do is relevant to what we want. In other words, we say that we want to paint this room. Don't suddenly start painting outside of that wall also. Don't suddenly start repairing the holes in the walls and all that. Don't suddenly start fixing all the lightings and all that. Yeah, so project, we have to do things which are relevant within the project. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we have at this point of time. Okay, this is how we describe the project. Okay, now next slide that we have. Projects basically is addressing a specific need in an organization. So in other words, when you're working in a company, I was telling you about the bank teller. He's sitting in front there doing his job, accepting inquiries from customers, accepting applications from customers, right? So it's his job. But when there's a specific need in an organization, then we term it as a project. And each project, there will be a set of constraints. Constraint typically means that what are the limitations that we have to do those needs, to achieve those needs. Organizing activities throughout management. Okay, that means there's a whole set of activities. That is what we call management. Okay, again, later on we see back the SMART. Right? So when we have all those activities mentioned, then that's part of the management. And the end, producing an end result. Again, these two here explains to us about management. Okay, now, in a company, for example, the bank teller, he's sitting there doing his work. He's not doing a project management. Okay, because he's doing a day-to-day task. But if, for example, he is given a special task, yeah, to actually go and in our example, to actually use a new system. That might be a project. Why? Because the company is saying, oh, we're going to launch a new system for everybody to use. So that when you do that, then the bank teller says, oh, okay, I'm in charge, I'm the head bank teller, and all the other bank tellers also need to apply the new program. So the company says we have a specific need, we want everybody to use the new program. So that becomes a project, and during that time, there's some constraints. That means that we have our work, we have the new system, we have to determine, say, oh, how are we going to start using the new system and all that. That will be part of the constraints. Organizing activities through management, then in that case, we have to manage the activities. For example, we have to plan to say, today, XYZ will be preparing this items, or we will be installing it, we will be having another set of activities of training. Then at the end of the day, everybody has to start using it. Right? So those are the activities that we have. So this is talking about having a new program being launched for the bank tellers. The last part here, producing an end result. So producing an end result means that everybody at the end of the day starts using the new software in the company. That would be an example of how we have a project and the management of it. In doing that, we have to consider the project constraints. Remember just now I mentioned that there is something called constraints. So the constraints, normally we use the term TQC. What does TQC stand for? T is basically time, or also some people call it your schedule. Q is the quality, and C is your cost. Some people call it budget. So now with this TQC, you have to make a balance of it, because the management have to decide, right? How much of quality, how much of time, how much of cost, and how much of quality is important to us. Budget. Almost all project there's a limited budget. Yeah. So now let's come back to the paint work that we're doing for the room. We know very well we have put aside the budget to buy the paint. We may have to put a budget aside to get someone to help us to do the paint work, right? Or the cleaning up and all that. And we may also need to put aside some budget for us to do the moving of furniture and all that. Compromising quality for the case there, we will decide, say, oh, we want them to paint 2-3 layers because we've got time. That's the quality. We want it to be so nice as that. So that might be important to us. The room again, organizing a fair schedule, we say, oh, we got make it so that there's enough time before the next Chinese New Year. 1 month plus. Okay, so now we come back to here, you can see that the combination of this will decide what type of project that we have. For example, okay, if we have time and cost, okay, we have time and cost, then we may need to have low quality. I mean, we have to sacrifice for the quality of it. So that's our constraint. But if on the other hand, if we want something of quality with cost involved, it might take time for us to complete the project. Because we say, oh, we want it to be very nice. Okay. Here cost, but we say, hey, the cost, is limited so much. So because we want it to be nice and there's a cost involved, it may take longer time. So those people who are very artistic and all that, it may take a longer time to complete. Okay. So now that's the idea of budget through quality and schedule. Okay, now let's go to the next portion here. When we look at the management, the management portion needs somebody to lead the whole set of activities. That will be done by a person appointed as a project manager. This may be an official appointment or unofficial appointment. However, every project manager throughout time have been proven to require a set of skills. Yeah. So although you are uneducated or highly educated, you will still need to look at this. So a project manager should have strong leadership skills because you are dealing with many people. Right? Remember, we are painting a house, right? We need to deal with the shop where we buy the paint, to be able to explain to him what paint, what color and all that we like. Then we also need to be able to work with the painters, the painter who's coming in to do the painting. We need to work with him to tell him how important is it, what is the things that we want to get done, and when they must have it done. Especially, for example, the paint drips. We don't want them to drip paints everywhere. So we need to be able to explain to them, should tell them the importance of it. Then we also need to have problem-solving skills. Painting is not much problem if you get experienced painters. But if suddenly they come across some problems, how? Yeah, so for example, suddenly while we're doing the painting, monsoon period, rain starts coming in from the ceiling. How do we solve that problem so that we can finish or complete the project? Because those are unexpected, or some people call it natural disasters. Right? Or suddenly the painter tells us, oh, sorry sir, my staff tested positive COVID, will not be able to come in for the next 5 days. And after that 5 days, are you sure you only need to come to your place to finish up the painting? Right, so from that, those are examples of problem-solving skills. You need to be able to tackle the type of things. What about the case where you do the painting and suddenly somebody tells you, the painter comes and tells you not enough paint? How are you going to solve that? Yeah. Another skills, traditional skill for project manager is organizational skill. So all these project managers are normally very organized in their mind. They have already pictured out the process, what is expected. They already have a schedule or a spreadsheet for the costing, so they can manage all the costing. All the receipts they will keep with them to be able to determine purchase budget, to make sure that everything ends on time. And so these are characteristics of a project manager. Standard or traditional, no matter what type of project, IT projects, school projects, or painting projects, or delivering a new software project, they will normally have these basic items. Okay, now coming to that, we are going to go into I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask questions, or rather I'm going to put you a list of quiz Q&As, right? You have your papers there, so just answer the questions on the paper, okay? Or if you want, you can also share your answers here. First part here is this. It's a Q&A portion here. Provide an example of a project that you can think about. What do you think would be a project? Apart from the bank teller example I told you that you want to implement new software, apart from the paint work that you want to do for your room, okay, what other cases of what you think is an example of a project? Now, when you think of a project, write it down. What do you think is a project? Then we will analyze to see whether it is a project or not. Yeah? And why do you say that it's a project? Right. So let's see what's your answer to your questions. To the question 1, example of project. What's this? Okay, building a community bridge. Okay, that's good. What's the example? Yours is yeah, that's a good one. Holiday trip. Okay, that's also a project. Okay, a holiday trip is also a project. Now, for those projects that you have mentioned, what would be the example of TCQ if you remember? T stands for your time, C stands for your cost, and Q for your quality. Now, what would be example of your time constraint? Example, building a bridge, you may say, okay, we give you 1 year because it's a big project. Example of your holiday trip, it might be shorter, 5 days, right? Or maybe 1 month because you want to plan for the things off. Then your cost involved building the bridge. Building a bridge might be direct cost. You might also have costs where you have to apply to the local councils, the local government, apply for plans, architect work and all that. Holidays, what's the cost involved? You may need a travel agent, you may need to see the flight tickets, right? Passports, you may have to pay for passports, your new clothes and all that. And of course quality. Okay, for bridge, your quality might be just so that people can walk across the bridge, community bridge, and we can walk up and down, right, safely. And you may assume that the bridge can be used for 20 years, 30 years safely. For holiday trip, what type of quality are you looking at? Are you looking at the budget type of trip, right? Or a hotel with all the facilities type trip, so that becomes your quality. Right? So those are the TCQ. That's where if you draw your TCQ diagram, then you can see where are the importance area. Now, why I mentioned about TCQ is that normally for TCQ, you always have 2 that is important, and you always sacrifice 1. Yeah, in any project, it is very common that we concentrate on 2 and sacrifice 1. So the management have to agree on which one is the one to sacrifice. So that one, once it's agreed during the beginning of the project, everyone agrees on it, then they will just proceed with it. So it's easier. Okay, now last part here, share characteristics of a project. So your project itself, what are the characteristics? Remember the SMART. So what is the S, what's the M, what's the A, what's the R and T of your project that you have talked about? Think about it, write down. I think most of you will be hungry at this time. Okay, we've got another 3 more minutes before we go for our assignment and break. Okay, do you have any other questions? Any questions? No? Okay. No questions, then I will give you your assignment. The assignment is typically based on the project that you have mentioned here. Yeah. List out the T, the CQ of the particular project, and the last part here, of course, list out what are the S, M, A, R, and T of the project. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to do that, then we will go on for the coffee break. Right, I'll give you a few minutes to complete that. Right, so after you finish this short assignment, then we will go for coffee break. any questions you can ask, or you can even ask during the coffee break, yeah, no problem. But try your best to see how you can list out those items that we have just gone through. So later when we go for the coffee break, then we will stop the recording, okay? Thank you. I hope you have actually learned a great deal of items here, because this is the area where people need to understand why an set of activity is known as a project, and how we can appreciate what is a project itself.
I have a question.
Yes.
For building a bridge, what is the T relevant for building a bridge? How do you explain that?
So every project you must have a relevance. So in other words, that project, who is it for? Who is going to benefit from it?
Community.
Correct. So your relevance would be for the community. So for example, you may say the Jakun community, right? They need to be able to cross to go to the town. An example is, previously they didn't have any way, they had to travel one whole day to get across, but now with the bridge it may only take 1 hour. So that one is the relevance of it. Okay, the time, of course, the project time. You can determine, say, oh, this one it's something which is very difficult, may take resources and all that. You may need to take 1 year to complete it.
Okay. For achievable, with a degree of risk, is it like for example, you're building a bridge, then you need to see the soil condition and all those things, whether it's achievable?
Correct. Achievable is important because at the end of the day, it will decide whether that project is go ahead or we don't even do it at all. Yeah, so if you know if it's not achievable, for example, some people will say that, oh, it's impossible with the technology that we have, with the budget that we have, there's no way we can wait for the bridge to be completed. Yeah, so that's where it comes in. Now, good, they all can practice that. We will go for a break in a short while. So in conclusion, success of a project depends on managing the constraints by a trained project manager. So we understand the constraints at TCQ. We understand who is a project manager. The only thing now that I've added in is the word trained project manager. Some people, because they're from childhood, they're used to managing projects. Okay, but trained project manager means that we are people who are competent. We know that we can give the person his job. Yeah. So now, as reference for these materials, you can have a look at Fundamentals of Project Management, right, by Joseph Higney. Project Management by Harold Krisner. And there's also a Prince 2, which you can only get it once you have joined the Prince 2 certification program. Yeah, so with this, we will go for a short break, coffee break, and we will be back later on to continue with 1 and 2. Welcome back to the coffee break. We're going on to module 2 at this moment, and we're going to look at life cycle of common projects. The reason of common projects is because there are many types of projects, right? So we will see the most common situation. And in this particular module, we are looking at in this particular module, we're looking at an example that we will follow up from the earlier module that we had earlier on. So earlier on, we had a look at an idea of what's a project, what's a management like. We also had a look at the term TCQ, where every project manager, the basic that they should be able to differentiate, and then as I was mentioning, they will normally pick two, which is the important ones, and sacrifice the third. Yeah. Then we also had a look at management, where we have a term known as the SMART. Following all of that, it gives us an idea of how we work with projects. We have also gone through two basic examples. One was the bank teller, where his work as a bank teller at the front to receive questions, to receive applications, is considered as his daily task. It is not a project. Whereas when they were given new software, where the task was to get everybody to start using the new software, we know that it becomes a project because we can apply the SMART to it. Yeah, so the time, for example, the relevance of time is we want to know that everyone starts using the new software by Monday. You know, everybody, then the old system will stop moving it. What was S? Anybody can remember what's S to the smart? What is S? Very good, right? So that was basically how we all look at projects. Now, we've seen a recap of that. The second example we had to look at was the paintwork in our house. If you recall, the paintwork was a simple task, but there were some things that we were very careful about it. Okay, so example of the task that we did for the paintwork was to be able to determine that we want to paint the room, only the room. We were deciding that we're not going to paint the ceiling, we're not going to paint outside, and we also decided that there was a particular benefit in the sense that we're going to have a new nice looking room by Chinese New Year. Okay, and that was what we know that we can achieve. Okay, and there was also a risk that was there. Why? Because we're saying that it's now COVID season, or COVID is being reported prevalently. The painter could contract COVID positive. Are we willing to take the risk? If he is, then what is going to happen? Yeah. And other things is, for example, we run out of paint doing the paint work. Can we get the same tone of paint again for our room? Yeah, so those are things that we look at. So that gave us an overview and idea of project management. Now, since we know what's a project management, our next area that we will be looking at is something called life cycle of common projects. Life cycle is typically how we start and end a set of activities. So sometimes when we simply do things, we just go there, do things without thinking about it. We don't really have a cycle. Why? Because we do it how we feel like doing it. We don't want people to control us, we don't want to worry about budgets and all that. So that will not have a life cycle. Yeah? That one means that anytime we go start something, then maybe go backwards again and start, go back and forth again and start and end. Right? So that one normally typically no life cycle. Now, life cycle is normally used in an area where we have an established set of activities. Everybody has agreed, it's been practiced throughout the years, and many of the popular activities for project have been carried out successfully. So then they decided to say, okay, since this is how it works, all those famous project managers, all those famous psychologists, all those famous business teachers, okay, top managers, they came up with this set of activities and placed it into the project life cycle, which means that how we start and how we end, and what are the things in between. That is known as the life cycle. Right? Life. something start, something end. In this module 2, we look at the concept when people start thinking of an idea for the project. We call it the initiation. Then people lay it out. Lay it out means to say exactly what are we going to do. It becomes the plan. Next, we have looked at collaborating and communicating. So this is when we do execution. Execution means we take the plan and we start doing things to it so that we do the activities. We need to communicate and collaborate. Then, leading the way out. How do we finalize the project to end it up, to say that's it, finished. We don't need to worry about this anymore. We are done. Yeah, so that's how we call the life cycle of common projects, of projects. These are the 4 things that we will look at in this module. Right. Now, okay, so we got this portion here done. Let's have the next step. Think of an idea. So, this is a short description of how a group of people, in this case here is a team, right, from different departments, they have gone through a discussion and they saw that, hey, look, our company's profit, you see the arrows coming here, it means that our profits are dropping. They were concerned about that. Profits dropping is one problem. Then next thing is that their sales is also dropping. Their sales is dropping in the sense that this is all from their statistics. So the different department heads are meeting, right? And the boss, the head, says that what if we don't change at all and something magical just happens? That is one way many companies address all these problems here. Don't change. You're just hoping things change, things will fix by itself. No project is going to happen from here. When the other managers feel that we need to do something, right, to solve or to counter all this fall in profits, fall in sales, then everyone will be able to make a decision. They want to do something about it, then it's called initiation. If you decide don't do anything at all, there's no initiation at all. So, what are the things here that we see in the example there? Where these people identify a set of objectives and needs. If we have identified that we have to do specific things, then we know we have started the initiation phase. Okay, example back again. The room that we were deciding on painting. Why? What happened? I decided that I want to have a nice room by Chinese New Year because my relatives are coming in and they want to be able to stay overnight and would like to have that room nicely set up for them. Yeah, I was thinking about many things here and there. So I identified the objective and needs. My relative is coming, place is supposed to be nice. Maybe I want to fix aircon, right, to make it more comfortable for them to stay in. Clean up the place. That was the objective for the relative to come in. Then I did a feasibility study. This is a very common thing. Excuse me. So feasibility study typically means that should this project proceed or not? I go down, I calculate, okay, this paint, this one, I need this, I need that, cost of the aircon, right? Whether I will be free, whether somebody can do this work, right? So that's the feasibility study. I'm studying, see whether okay or not. I do a comparative chart. Okay, the pros and cons. most people they use the pros and cons. And if you have seen the SWOT, some people actually prepare something called the SWOT table, right? SWOT. So organizations very commonly use the SWOT to determine or to assist them in their feasibility study. Okay, coming back here to our paint job here. So the paint, we decided that, oh look, after calculating this, I don't have enough money for the aircon. And the aircon requires me to break the holes in the walls and all that. I have to go and apply things to the management and all that. Aircon is out of the project. Yeah. So buying new furnitures here and there, also out of the project because no budget for that. The only thing left was I can do the painting of the whole room to make it look nice. That's it. Then assign core team and project manager. This is all part of initiation. Assign core team typically means that I decided that who will be involved in the painting. So in this case here, I myself decides that I will be the project manager because I want to do it. Okay, because I'm free. But in the cases where for organizations, myself, I may have decided about it, I might not be the one doing the project management. Example is, I might not be free. So I have to nominate my sister who's in the house every day, not doing anything at all. So what you do here is, after you become project manager, you have to do those things all. I can say that my sister is able to do this project management job. Why? Because I went back and checked and see what's the project management skill required. Do you remember what's the project management skills that was required previously, as I mentioned? Yes. Go back because I know my sister, what she had time management skills. I know she was very good at managing her time. What else? What other type of skill that my sister had? She's very good at communicating with people. She just talks and talks and talks and talks to people. People don't listen, so she will just talk and talk and talk with them. Right? Anything, she's very good at communicating her ideas to people and trying to get people to do things that she wants. Right? So I know my sister has all the skills as a project manager, so that's why I'm saying she will be it. Then I decide the core team. Why? Because I also need to know who will be doing all these paintings, who will be helping to move out the furniture. So I decided that, oh, I know this Jack downstairs at the paint shop nearby here. Not paint shop, he's a handyman, he can do all this paint work. So I will assign him to also work with my sister. So Jack will be helping my sister to do all these paintings out. So I decide who are the core team members and they will do the work. So next portion here is identify major deliverables. Then I will work with this project manager and the core team and say, I want to have a set of deliverables. So what's the deliverable involved? I just tell them. Okay. For example, if I'm not sure about what to say, I have to tell them at the end of the project what is expected. Again, we go back to the SMART. Okay. So one of the things that is in there, I will tell them, the specific thing that I want them to do is the room must look beautiful with this shade of color, with this design and the pictures all drawn up there, and the furnitures all placed back in the room. Yeah. By when? Before Chinese New Year. So that would be the major deliverables. So the reason why you see the word major deliverables is in between I may have small set of deliverables. For example, I may have to work with them to tell them, hey, I want a feature wall. Everybody looking at me and saying, feature wall, what's that? So I have to explain to them what's the idea of feature wall, where is it, how is it going to look like and all that. So that might be a minor deliverable in between the two. So they need to set up that. Other than that, another deliverable is maybe they have to paste all the stickers everywhere so that all my glass pieces all will not get painted on. Okay, so that's one of the areas there. So So this is the initiation phase. Without this, and very common when projects want to start, if we go through all this, we find that, oh, we don't have anyone to do it. Cancel. Visibility. Project here, look. Cannot be done. Why? Because TCQ. We don't have the time, we don't have the cost, and we don't have the quality things that we need. Cancel. Okay, so it is possible, initiation phase, we even cancel projects. Very common. Okay, now, so this is how we start the project life cycle. It's just the beginning phase. And all of this requires you to have, for companies, the documentations. For example, feasibility study, you may have to have the document to say what studies have you done, what's the report, what's the cost. Above here, you may need to have something called the PIN. PIN is known as Project Initiation Note. Somebody to say that we want to start initiating this project. In companies, normally it's through a meeting, they agree, oh, we have to implement a new software for our bank tellers. Means what? They have decided on that, they recorded it down the meeting minutes, somebody will create something called a PIN, Project Initiation Note. They will say, oh, who says that they want this one? What are the major deliverables? Okay, who is going to be the project manager? Who's the core team? They will mention all that inside the PIN, Project Initiation Note. Because that's the official document, then they will send to the management. The management is the one that will sign that to say, yes, we start. And yes, they agree that he will be project manager, he will be the core team. Right, so that's how they start the project. Okay. Any questions about this portion here? Let me check the time. Okay, no questions. Right now, once we have this, right, either in our example, the painting the room, or company wants to implement new software, and everything has been agreed, and we know that the project will start. So the project initiation note is provided or produced, then we go on to the next phase. Laying it out or planning. Now, when we have a look at the example of our icebreaker, okay, Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill did not plan at all any of these things here. Now, the other people, the father and the mother, they were the one who were planning for all these activities to happen. So they came up with, to say that yes, we wanted to have something. We wanted to get water from the well. The well must be specifically from up the hill. So the father has decided on that. Then father and mother has planned it out with Jack and Jill, what they need to bring, provided them with the buckets, the strings and all that, the ropes. Yeah. So all those things are the initiation phase. When they managed to convince Jack and Jill, yes, it's freezing in the winter here, the cold weather. Yes, you have to go up the hill, put you all the proper clothing and all that, and you'll be pulling up all those things. They will have to lay out the plan to Jack and Jill. Okay, now, because of that, the planning phase, we start looking at specific tasks. What are the tasks? Tasks basically means a set of activities that we want to perform and the resource requirements Resource requirement can be people, can be the time, can be skills, can be materials. Okay, so we identify all those things first. Then we also have to create a project timeline to say, oh, by when must this be done? And when we have all this, then we can determine an estimation of the actual cost, and somebody have to document the plan. Coming back to our example of the bank teller, they were informed that they want to implement a new software in the organization. They have gone to the head bank teller to tell them, okay, we're going to do this. The management will have to work out on the tasks involved. For example, the new software must be available to everyone. Who is going to do the training to them? And when we do the training, what document or data is going to be used, and who will be involved in the training, which staff is involved in the training. So this one is just one document itself. They will prepare one document itself to say that resources allocated. It's one document. So somebody must be able to write out all these things here. With that, then somebody will tell you, okay, they will tell this tellers here within the next 1 week, we have a project timeline. Example, they have to mention, prepare the software, prepare the training material, training notes, arrange for the trainer, arrange the room or time. Right? So all those things we have to place it inside the project timeline. This project timeline, very commonly we have tools for it. One of the common tools that we use is the Gantt chart. Gantt chart, we have many ways of creating the Gantt chart. Gantt chart is basically a chart where it provides you a list of tasks and the times to start and time to end. That's the Gantt chart. Okay. Other ways of doing it, some people they will use something called a PERT chart. P-E-R-T. PERT chart is mainly used to determine resources. Yes, because remember the bank tellers, they have a day-to-day job, right? They have a particular job that they have to do. So PERT chart will be able to say, okay, this person with what skill do what, when. Yeah, so that's one of the things. Then you may have to have estimate of the cost. Estimate the cost. Typically in that case, then you may have to see the cost monetary. You may want to spend for your tea time for them for the training, or they may be doing the training at night, so you may be providing them dinner. If you're doing the training in a hotel, for example, then you may need to have to book a hotel, so the cost is there. Secondly, the cost in the sense of time. You may also have to worry about when are we going to get these things all done. That means that we have to arrange everybody, say, oh, after work you all must go for training. After work, yeah? So those are the costs. And we may have to spend extra on the software. Why? The training consultants who are providing the software need to be able to provide the training, so we need to include that in the cost. And of course, the most important thing is documenting the plan. Normally, project manager is in charge of documenting the plan. Documenting of the plan would include information of the project tasks, resources, the timeline, and the cost. These things is part of the plan. Then once he has a plan, he will also create a file that will have the previous information, where in the previous information, as you can see, it was the initiation. He will also put in all the project initiation information in the document together, so that it's easier for everyone. Right, so this is part of laying out the plan. Any questions about this? No. Okay, now let's go to the example of the painting of the room. Okay, the planning portion here. So when I have decided that I want the room to be painted, I have to see based on, I've already decided on I cannot afford the aircon, I cannot afford new furnitures and all that, so it's left with painting the room. What I'm going to do here is to say that, okay, the tasks involved: clearing the place, taping all the things which shouldn't be painted, right? Buying the paint, booking the painter's time, and if I need to have permit to do the painting from the building management, I have to apply for that. All those will be part of my task. Then the resources here, typically, I'm getting my sister to help me to manage it. So those are the things. Create a project timeline. This is the skill that the project manager needs to do. He needs to see how to break that up so that we can get it done before Chinese New Year. Okay, now this is why I say that project manager need to be able to speak to the or collaborate with the people. Why? Because he needs to speak to the painter. Painter, when are you free? He needs to go to find to the paint shop. When can I get this specific color? Yeah, and how long will these things all get done? So at the end of the day, he also needs to make the estimate of the cost. Once he has the estimate of the cost, he must make sure that he got the budget for it, so that he can do all those things. Or maybe today he doesn't have the budget, he may have to actually go and extend it. Maybe this month I don't have enough money, I have to wait for next month for the next set of purchase. Right, so that's part of budgeting. Excuse me. Okay, so this is planning. Any questions about this part here? We're done with planning. Okay, we go to the next part first, then we see where else is there that you can apply skills as a project manager. Now, another area that the project managers need to be experienced in is known as the execute. Okay, execute in the life cycle typically means that you need to be able to start doing the work. It's not all just planning. Now you start doing the work. So this is known as the execute. If you see from here, this example here, everybody needs to communicate with each other to get the job done properly. Example, if we go back to the case about the painter, if the painter is actually catching COVID, not able to come, and they don't tell us, the project manager will be sitting in the house, waiting and waiting. So if he's waiting, the painter is not coming, he can wait the whole day and nothing's going to happen. Okay. This reminds me of a time some time back when my son had to be admitted to hospital for COVID-19. Not COVID-19, sorry. He had to be admitted to hospital for dengue case. Yeah. It was so unfortunate. He had to be admitted to hospital. My wife, she was actually taking him there. She was thinking of registering him and getting things all done. But unfortunately, there was the case about getting the insurance done. She provided insurance information to the hospital, and she was sitting there waiting for them for an hour. Then 2 hours passed by. Nothing happened yet. She went back to the counter, the reception there, to ask them what's happening. And guess what? The reception didn't know what's happening. They didn't even find out. They didn't follow up with what's happening. So she had to contact her insurance again to find out and see what's happening. And they said they never received anything from the hospital. Or rather, they actually sent something to the hospital, but the hospital never received anything. Yeah, so you see the importance of this collaboration. If they had only the hospital and the insurance had spoken earlier on or updated each other about issues or the delay or being suspicious of this, things could have gone faster. But instead in the hospital, she had to wait at the counter there for approval for almost 10 hours. Yes, almost 10 hours from the hospital. And this is a private hospital, mind you. Just imagine. Yeah. So it was only after the last few hours that there was more communication, and only then they could actually find a way how to resolve this issue of the insurance claims. Yeah, so that's why collaboration, communication is very important. Right? So now, collaborating and communicating is the key part of the project. It's when everything starts action, taking all the plans, going to actions and all that. Okay, we call this putting the plans into motion. Key here is project manager has an important role to make sure that he maintains control and communicating through the different channels. So let's go back to the picture of us trying to paint the room. My project manager, that's her assistant. Yeah. She's trying to get all these things started. She's got to go and speak to the people who's providing the paint to make sure that they have the correct paint code, and whether they can deliver the correct required amount on time. So she has to check that. Then she also has to make sure she can communicate regularly with the painters. If any one day, if the painter suddenly decided that he's not well, she should know it instantly and update her plan accordingly. Yeah, so this is part of maintaining control and communicating. So one way of doing it is that she may want to take daily calls to the painter. Painter, are you done? But before she will reach the painter, she may need to speak to the person who's clearing out the furniture, taping all the things on. And that was our friend Jack who's going to help with all those things. And so Jack is going to paste stickers all over the place, clear up the floor, pick up everything out of the room. She has to communicate with him to make sure that he's getting the things done correctly. So different channels, in other words, means that she could be using phone. She could go through meetings with them, sit down, discussion, go down to coffee shop, sit down, discuss with them. Right, so there's the different channels. Another way here, like these days, we have something like WhatsApp, we have something like Telegram. You can use all those medias to be able to keep you updated. Yeah, you can actually have all this information updated through those channels. Next, measuring performance and compare against accepted criteria. So, this project manager have to be able to decide what is the measurement for performance. Yeah, so for example, we wanted to start painting the room, right? We wanted them to clear everything out. So the performance is what? The person, Jack, so who's supposed to clear the place, needs to be able to do it within a particular amount of time, and to make sure that nothing is broken, and to make sure that everything that is moved out is labeled so that he knows how to put it back again. Other performance that you might need to have is make sure that the code that you have is the correct paint code, and during the painting they need to be able to paint 3 layers, example, and each layer they need to have certain amount of time to let it dry before the next layer. She wants to have good paint quality, because if you have 3 layers to her, the paint will last you for many years. And if you've got 3 layers but you keep on painting 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers on the spot, it's of no use. You have to leave 1 layer dry for 4 hours, paint the next layer, dry for 4 hours, then paint the next layer and dry for 4 hours. She knows it cannot be done within the day. So she knows that it is going to be split between several days. Okay, and compare against accepted criteria. So that's accepted criteria. Okay, her, no paint must touch on the floor, because this is all carpet in the house. I don't want to see carpet with paint, and I don't want to see all this furnitures and all that with paint on it. So that is my criteria. Another criteria I could also place is the paint must be evenly painted. I don't want to see one patch here, one patch here, one patch there. Yeah, so those are examples of criteria. Updating plans on a regular basis. Project manager will have to speak to them to say, oh, is this okay or not? Okay or not? Yes. He will update his timeline, his plan. Problem is what? What if a person got sick? The painter is sick. Then they have to update his plan to see what else I'm going to do. Why is that important? Because remember I was telling you, she has to achieve all this painting done before Chinese New Year. Right? So she has to make sure that she has all the plans, what she's going to do if these things happen and all that. Just make sure that everything is done by Chinese New Year, before Chinese New Year. Okay, so those are the examples that we have for the painters. Any questions? Okay, good. 36 minutes. 36 minutes. Okay, now let's go to the next part here. Leading the way out or finalize. Finalizing a project is very important because it tells us that the project is done, whether it's successful or delayed. Right, so that's how we decide on the project. Releasing the final deliverables. So in other words, that the final deliverables is the room is painted. In our case here, the furnitures are already placed back in place. Right? That is the final deliverable for our case here. So you must be able to release it. Yeah? Handing over project documentation to the business. If it's an organization, then all this documentation that the project managers have been preparing must be handed over back to the company. To say, okay, this is all done. Here's the documentation to show you, including the cost and all that. Communicating the closure to all stakeholders. So in our painting example, here's this. Project manager need to tell Jack that yes, you managed to put in everything there, your task is done. You took out the furniture, now you put it back all inside, everything, all the tapes all removed, everything all fine. His task is done. Painter, beforehand, project manager would have told the painter, oh, okay, all these things all painted already, huh? Nothing, no extra cost for you. I'm not paying you anything extra anymore because it's all done. Right? You don't want the painter suddenly come back to you say, oh, I think we have to paint some more this part here. Okay, you don't have that problem anymore. So that's why it's important that you need to communicate to all, and my project manager to come back to me to tell me that come, check and see all done. To just confirm everything done. So project manager will take me for my hands, check and see all these things all done, and say, can we confirm it's done? So when the management says that yes, we are done, then that is how we close the project. So once the project is closed, we call it closure, then project managers have a very important task to also identify lessons learned. He has to write down or list down all the things that they learned during this process. Example for our case of the painting of the room is, I may have to mention, this COVID season, there's a risk that painters is COVID positive. That may delay the paint work. And because COVID positive, all the painters, all brothers, they stay in the same place. We cannot get them to do anything else anymore. So we have to wait for them. And why we have to depend on them? Because we have to pay them the deposit, and they don't finish the work, we lose the deposit. We cannot take other people. Okay, so this type of problems coming into place. So lessons learned are normally things that project manager will list out that companies must do or be careful of next time when they do this type of project. Okay, let's go to the next example. Remember I was telling you about the teller, the bank teller. They want to implement a new software in all in their office, right? So now, this case is here the same thing. For that project itself, they want to have everybody using the new system. Releasing the final deliverables means that everyone of the front teller has started using the new software. So when they start using the new software, what is happening then? We need to be able to decide or confirm everybody is using the software. So the project manager will say, okay, old software, stop. Everyone use the new software. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Okay, now, once it's confirmed this, they confirm everybody's using the new software, and they can safely say that everybody knows how to use the new software. this is part of the releasing final deliverables. It's not just new software on everybody's machine, but the bank tellers, they actually know how to use it. Handing over project documentation to the business, then the project manager will put in all the documentation, send over to the bank manager to say that, okay, everybody, this is the staff that they have trained, this is the software which is being run on all these machines, and communicating the closure to all stakeholders. This is the case for the bankers. They will have a meeting to inform everyone this is the project and this is the result and this is what everybody is using now, right? So it's just a short meeting. Then we will also prepare documentation to say the lessons learned. Maybe they get feedback from the bank tellers, you know. If there's any delay in the task, what are the tasks, what are the delays involved? Yeah. So this is portion of the how we do the finalizing of projects. Okay. Now, if we have a look at this, normally in the execute and the finalize is where you will see the word called waterfall project management and agile project management. Right? In the execute and finalize stage, you will have something called waterfall and agile. So organizations like Project Management Institute and Prince2, those certifications will be able to prepare people with standard terms to do the execute and standard terms to do the finalize of the project. So that's why every time when you see project management and all that, certification is normally people who are able to do those two portions. Now, we have a look at the next portion. We come to the Q&A portion of this. Before we do any of these activities, these are our activities. Any questions for you that you would like to ask me to answer? Mm, 15 more minutes, man. We've got 15 more minutes before our lunch break. Yeah?
From my initial project of building the community bridge,
right.
Okay, the point of collaborating and communicating execute, can you explain more how does it relate to this measuring performance and compare against accepted criteria?
Okay. Now, in the case where we are going to do the building a community bridge, yeah, one of the main things is this: community bridge are things which is projects which is going to involve the land people, the agencies, the government departments and all that. Yeah, so one of the examples is you may need to get permit to do the building, permit to build the bridge, your architecture, diagram permits, right? There's a whole bunch of that. Normally you have to go to the local council and the building to get all those permits. So those are the things that come into the picture. Then they will tell you, or they will be able to give you what are the specs that is okay. For example, if you're going to build a bridge where you can support 100%, 1,000 days of up and down running, they will have a certain stress that is required. So there is a calculation. They will have a program called AutoCAD, where you can plug in all this information and he will tell you the stress for the bridge that's required. Yeah, so that's one of the areas. So another area is that we may need to be able to communicate with these agencies to say that I want to get this permit. Then the agencies will list out for you the list of things that you need to provide them. Okay? For example, drainage and irrigation. They don't want you to start building a bridge and after that cause a landslide in the places. They don't want you to build a bridge where after a few times you use, one side will collapse. Yeah? They don't want you to build a bridge where nobody is going to use. Why? because the other side is not connected to people who can access the bridge. Right, so those are the example of it. So when you communicate with them, you communicate with people there, do they really need this bridge? Then you can actually establish the quality and the permits that's required to build a bridge. So those are the things that we look at normally for communicating or executing. So another area here is the builders itself. You may need to see that, are you also involved in the environmental friendly culture? That means that, are you going to destroy a lot of things in order to build a bridge, or you don't have to destroy anything to build a bridge? Yes, with minimal impact to the environment. So at the end of the day, some people will tell you, the workers who are building the bridge, maybe you treat them badly. When you hire the workers, your Mando who's taking care of all the workers, or might be putting the workers in a small little slave camp. Is it acceptable to you? When people come out saying, oh, these people never feed them, nothing, force them, and they beat them to go and build the bridge and all that. Another issue. So you also have to make sure that it's a responsible person who's going to provide you with the workers and the contractors. So there's a communication, the people, the time, the resources, the permits and all that. Yeah, so that's where it's important in the planning execution stage. Okay, another area is the police or local councils. You need to make sure that they are also aware of all these things. Some things you just have to be out of courtesy to inform people. For example, the police, they don't really need to know anything of this. But because you would like to make sure that the police are aware of this, so that if there's any issue with the bridge, they know that you are the person in contact, they understand what's the situation. Yeah, so the police are also another area that you will actually look at. So now, thank you, that's a good question. From here, I'll give you an activity. This activity here, I would like to break it up into 3 parts. Okay. Based on the project example that you have, try to identify what the activities that will take place in the initiation phase of your project. Right? Just try to list out about maybe 5 or 6 that you can think about. Right? Just take a few minutes to think about it. You will go through the second and the third one, the short one. Okay, we've got about 12 more minutes before our lunch break. Yeah? Let's take about 1-2 minutes to do this first part here. Very good, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, those are very good points.
Initiative, is it something identify who will use it, how frequent they are using it?
Yes, yes. You remember the initiation phase is to decide whether the project proceeds or not. Yes, you must have the justification to say, yes, I will proceed with the project. That's where the initiation phase is important.
How to use feasibility study?
Feasibility study is to decide, is to have a study to say whether it can be done. Let's look at the example of painting a room. When we do the painting, we wanted to have the room prepared for our relative before this Chinese New Year. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I want to get new aircon, I want to get new furniture, I want to get the things all painted. So feasibility study, I would have listed out all those things. Then I see, okay, which one can be done. From that feasibility study, I will come up and say, oh, I can only do painting because that's all my budget is. Right, so that's the feasibility study. So I will put in everything I want to do and determine what is it actually that I can do with this TCQ. Okay, this is still fine for your initiation phase. Now we go on to next activity here, where we look at the execute phase. Just list out about 3 items that you can think for your particular project on the execute phase. What do you think you would do during the execute phase? 3 or 4 items. Remember, the main thing for execute phase means that you're taking your plan and moving it into motion. That means taking the plans and doing something about it at the time. Yeah? So 3 or 4 items that you think for your particular project activities, how is it going to look like? In some large organizations, when they execute phase, it will involve regular weekly meetings with everyone for their updates. Yeah, some people, for this portion here, they will have regular sub-committee meetings. So each sub-committee must have a meeting every week. At the end of the month, they have the meeting with the steering committee. Steering committee will be those people involved in the management. The sub-committees are all the small groups of people doing small activities. They will report back to the steering committee. Steering committee will be the one controlling, do we keep the project going or do we cancel the project? Or do we add in money for the project? Or do we provide more time? Or we change the quality of the project? Right, so that's what we call a steering committee. Now, okay, we'll find that part there now. That is on the execute phase. Now, the third item, list an example of communication type in the third life cycle. What is the third life cycle? Remember, I'm giving you the life cycle, right? So, what's life cycle? The third part of the life cycle. Initiation, then planning, and followed by execute. So in execute, list down 3 examples of communication type that you can think about. So how in the case, for example, of bank teller, how are they communicating for their training to use the new system. For the paint work, how do they do communicating between the project manager and painters and the movers and the project and the owner. Okay. Okay, a few minutes to do that.
Communication type in the third life cycle is
Example?
like meeting also.
Meeting, yes. What else?
Meeting.
You can actually be
Phone calls?
phone calls and
Emails?
emails. Yes, those are communication types. Right. So project manager may have to record all these things all because in future if it needs proof or evidence, all those things needs to record them up. Okay. So very good for this part here. We've given this. I will give you an assignment later on. Like in the first module 1, there was a short assignment. Here we do the next assignment in a short while. In conclusion for this module, a project life cycle provides a systematic way to approach project management. This project life cycle starts from your initiation, which means that at that point we can decide when to cancel the project if it's not okay. Then we went to, if it goes on, we go to planning. We try to identify all the resources, and one of the important thing is the documentation, the timeline and all that. Once all that is ready, then we go to the next phase. What's the next phase? Execute. Alright? So that's the third phase. So we're being systematic. So execute means we just doing everything until it finish. And when we go to the finalized phase, what do we do? Finalized phase, we deliver what we have agreed on. That is the finalized phase. So finalized phase is important. Why? Because it means that whatever we wanted in a project, there we tell them, here it is. And we hand over all the documentation of all the costings and all that. Right? So this is why I say that every project life cycle basis is for. So popular organizations, Project Management Institute, PMP, Prince2, and all those large organizations that does project standards, they will use the same life cycle, but they may break it up in many terms of their own. Yeah, but typically they come to these 4 phases. For further reading, you can actually have a look at this. This is a very good book, right? Project Management, all-in-one dummies. Right, it's one of the more popular books for fresh grads and those people who are suddenly finding themselves to become project manager. Okay, so why is this one of the popular books? Is because it's easy to read, and if suddenly I'm not a project manager, I'm just one of those bank tellers, suddenly I say, oh, now you're a project manager to make sure that everybody start using the new software. Right, so I need to be able to do, when they say it's a project, you need to have a project management plan, then I know what is the things I need to prepare. Okay, there's another document known as Last Things First, right, by Queenie Lee. Okay, he's a PMP, project management professional. Okay, it gives you a statement how to handle project management. Then we also have project management crash course. Okay, this is by Intro Books. So these are books which will introduce to you the life cycle of project management. Yeah, so now we've come to this part here. There's an assignment that you have to complete before going for lunch. Once you complete the assignment, then you can go for your lunch. Now, based on your notes here at page number 15, where you have the reference pages and all that. Okay. In the reference pages here, down here is your assignment. Okay. The assignment is to mention what kind of documents, based on all this life cycle, each life cycle, what kind of documents can you see that you need to prepare in order to provide to the owners. Okay, so that means what document you might have to have prepared for the, what's the first phase? Initiation. What's the documents that you need to prepare for the planning? And what are the documents you need to prepare for execution? And the last one, what are the documentations that you need for finalize? So just list up those few items. Right, take 10 minutes to do that. Those of you who are done, you may go for your lunch break, and I'll see you back after lunch later. Any questions that you have, please feel free to ask. But you got 10 minutes to do this before we end for lunch. Okay, so I leave you to this first. Any questions can ask.
Do we need to follow any certain format for documenting the plan?
That's a good question. The reason why we have documentation is this. One is, if you are doing things on your own, you just make sure that you have the documentation that covers for those 4 phases. Okay. Those people who are doing PMP or prints, they will have specialized formats and terms and documents that they need to utilize. Yes, they do have. And so when we go for the initiation phase, for example, one of the main things is something called project initiation mode, a PIN. Right? The PIN is important. Why? It tells you that who will be the project manager, what are the resources, and what is the objective of the project. So that's for project initiation. Then for the planning, you've got a few sets of documents. One of it is the costing. Another one is your Gantt chart. You need to show a timeline, when does it start, when is it going to end, with all the resources. Resources means that this thing, who will be doing it. Okay, so who will be doing it, so that we get an idea about how to control the time, the quality, and the cost. Execution. Execution is normally taking your timeline, your Gantt chart, and updating it periodically. Your meeting minutes, recording your meeting minutes. You have expenditures, all those expenditures, you buy things, return things and all that. All those things, you have to record them. Okay, so those are the things in your execute. There are many things in execute. You may also have something called a work breakdown structure, which you will see at another time. It will say that one sub-activity to complete. Subtask, so you have to mention that this subtask is completed. The finalized portion of it will have a project closure document. So the project closure document typically will say that what is the deliverable, and you get a sign or signature from the project owners. So they will sign off saying, oh yes, okay, it's done, finished. Make payment to everybody. All these things are. Yeah, so that one is one. That's where you get people coming in. Okay. That's where you get people coming in with information about how to, what are the deliverables that we want to have and all that. So another very important for finalize actually is also known as the. Remember, after all those things that we've done, finalize, one important thing that is important is what? There's a document known as LL, lessons learned. Okay, so that lesson learned, although it's not a requirement, but it's as a project manager, professional project manager, they will prepare that to say that this project completed, but during this project, this is what we learned. Okay, check. Is a very reliable person. You ask him to clear the things and put back, he will clear it off and put it back exactly as what you have asked him. So lesson learned is check is a good mover. Right? The painters, lesson learned is this painter, they're all from the same family. One person sick, all sick at the same time. No work can get done. Very high risk. You may need to think about another painter. Okay, so those are the things that come to picture. Okay, so take time to complete your second assignment. Okay, and I think that's it for the day. If you have no other questions, go for your lunch, and we will meet you back after lunch for module 3 and 4. Thank you very much, everybody.